The state of Texas is currently spending $2 billion of your tax money to build the biggest prison system in the free world.
But how much of that money is being spent on correction and how much on creature comfort for the inmates? Channel 8's Robert Riggs joins us tonight with a surprising answer to that question. Robert?
In fact, Chip, spending on state prisons is growing rapidly, while education's share of the budget is falling. We find part of the reason for that in the first part of my series tonight, Hard Crime, Soft Time. Federal court mandates give criminals benefits that our school children don't have.
One ice cream pint.
The best public buildings used to be our schools. Now convicted criminals get the best. The $76 million maximum security McConnell prison is a costly example of the sweeping reform of the Texas prison system. Located in Beeville near Corpus Christi, the 77-acre compound is as clean and spacious as any college campus. Designed under court orders to keep inmates out of their cells most of the time.
We got it made. We got it going on. We get 3 meals. We get a nice cot, you know, nice couple of blankets, nice coat. We get good hot meals.
They got things to occupy your time if you want to occupy your time. They got things you can learn if you want to learn. They got school, college, whatever, library. If you want to get in trouble, you can do that too.
That's correct.
There's computer-assisted language classes. The prison system runs one of the richest school districts in the state. Cable television, games, arts and crafts, even subscriptions to pornographic magazines. Rules from federal court decisions spell out the daily regimen, from the brightness of light bulbs in a cell to fresh air and noise levels.
Check the middle of that plant. Check the inside of it also.
Inmates can't work outdoors if it's too hot or colder than 42 degrees, but the guards can. Contrary to public misconceptions, Texas inmates do have to work if they are physically and medically able.
A majority of the public would like to see these inmates out here doing hard labor, and to use an old campaign slogan, busting rocks. I mean, how hard can you make them work?
If he doesn't want to work hard, he's not going to, period. We can't physically make him work hard.
Some try to hustle medical exemptions from back-straining labor. Those who refuse to work lose good behavior time off their sentences or other privileges. Yet the worst troublemakers often prefer to stay in their cell blocks watching TV.
They claim that officers abuse them, things like that. There's no abuse going on down there. They don't like authority figures.
Do they not know they're in prison?
Some of them don't know they're in prison. A lot of them think we owe them something.
Many inmates look upon the prison system as an entitlement program. A convicted drug dealer believes he's entitled to portable toilets when harvesting crops.
Since this country was founded upon the United States Constitution that protects all citizens, I don't give up my citizenship when I enter the gates of this penitentiary. I don't give that up.
But the field is just a short walk away from restrooms inside the prison gate.
We should have Johns out in the fields. Okay? We don't have Johns out in the fields.
McConnell holds 2,900 inmates in a model environment of constitutional standards at a cost of more than $32 million a year. Taxpayers could send 3 students to a state university for what it costs to keep 1 inmate here. Like it or not, the settlement of the landmark prison overcrowding lawsuit by inmate David Ruiz dictates how prisoners should be treated and what services they should receive. It also shaped the design of Texas' massive prison expansion. Inmates bunk in 2-man cells no smaller or austere than living spaces for sailors at sea or soldiers in Kuwait. Cells must furnish hot and cold running water, a window, desk, shelf, electrical outlet, antenna connection, and toilet. 4 dozen inmates share a 3-story day room. There's more space allotted for each inmate here than for children in public school classes. Ruiz required the prison system to permit most inmates to come and go from their cells as freely and frequently as they want for much of the day. A convicted killer held under stricter security because of disciplinary problems has filed 182 grievances.
You don't like the way the doors on your cell are open?
No, I don't like the way they're supposed to be opened hourly. They're supposed to be open, giving us 15 minutes prior to each and every activity, which is necessities, chow, recreation, what have you.
Ruiz required the prison to give inmates 16 hours a day of out-of-cell activities. Jerry Lynn Henry of Dallas says he plays about 7.5 hours of basketball daily beneath an outdoor covered court. 2 hours a day, Henry also beefs up his muscular 292-pound body on weightlifting machines.
If we didn't have no kind of activity, no TVs, this would be, let's see who the toughest with these. You know, it'll just be, every day somebody would die in here.
The Texas Attorney General says his settlement of the Ruiz lawsuit 2 years ago gave officials the right to run Spartan prisons, providing minimal, bare levels of food, water, and shelter. But federal Judge William Wayne Justice recently intervened again, ordering replacement of little-used softball fields bulldozed in the wake of prison expansion.
That sends a conflicting message to prison administrators on how tough and how far they can go without getting the federal courts on their backs. The Ruiz lawsuit ended institutionalized brutality, but even prison reformers say the construction of spacious prisons has gone too far. Chip, John?
You know, Robert, I don't think anybody would really want to spend a night in prison. But a quick question. I think everybody is shocked at the amount of freedom that inmates have inside the cells.
It's also not what the public wants. In our Listening to Texas poll, voters said, quit worrying about criminals' comfort. Take away the TVs. Treat them as criminals, not as hotel guests. Don't give them luxuries like workout facilities and libraries. I'll have more on that on tomorrow night's update.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. You may have occasionally wondered, how tough is life in prison? Critics say overzealous court rulings for prisoners' rights have imposed absurd and sometimes expensive comforts on state prison operations.
As a result, prison confinement is not as hard as the public expects. Tonight, Channel 8's Robert Riggs joins us with the conclusion of his series about life behind bars in Texas prisons. Robert?
John, it became clear earlier this year that state prison is a place criminals can't wait to get into. Some inmates rioted and burned down crowded county jails in Texas to get transferred to state facilities. That's because inmates enjoy far more freedom inside state prisons.
It's a nerve-shattering combat zone.
These are extremely dangerous, violent animals.
Spit, urine, feces, and other body fluids splatter guards.
If they don't feel that their pants were long enough, they can start off in a rage.
A prison within the McConnell maximum security prison holds 400 inmates who have assaulted guards or other inmates.
What's with the swastika? It's part of my heritage.
It's called administrative segregation, built to expensive specs mandated by federal courts. These inmates cost taxpayers more than $55 a day, more than any other type of custody. Victor Holbert of Dallas, a four-time loser for car theft and burglary, assaulted guards 7 times. Holbert received 100 years for stabbing a guard during this incident with a sharpened spoon. Prisoners' rights often outweigh guard safety.
This is what the officer got stabbed with in the mouth.
This inmate committed 10 assaults. The convicted robber fakes a seizure to draw guards back within range of a spear.
How do you get a spear in here? Well, unfortunately, I should say, we have to give them certain properties because they have certain rights. And they can make paper poles just about out of any kind of paper. Then they put tips on these poles for parts of their property, making like little darts, and they spear the officers.
It's fired by a slingshot made out of the elastic waistband of the inmate's boxer shorts.
They load it. We don't have a choice.
Still go back and feed this inmate 3 times a day.
You can't say no more food for a week, for a couple of days, bread and water for a couple of days.
Can't do that. We had to give him a nutritional value meal, and it has to meet them standards.
These violent inmates get 3 hot meals with the required 6 ounces of meat delivered to their cell door, along with library and law books. They're locked up 23 hours of the day, don't have to work. The most severe punishment is taking away their 1 hour of daily recreation. Even that requires a special hearing that costs taxpayers $200. And the suspension can't last longer than 2 weeks. Guards videotape how they handle troublemakers to prove they didn't use excessive force. And it's the assaultive inmate who gets an immediate medical exam for injuries. 38 million Americans can't afford health insurance, but inmates receive free medical, dental, and eye care at a prison infirmary better equipped than most small-town hospitals.
We found him outside. The back of his head's got a laceration, but nothing that big.
A doctor and 5 nurses treat an inmate suffering a seizure. 75 staff, including 39 nurses, provide around-the-clock care. Taxpayers spend on average $2,800 per inmate a year.
The patients in this system have a greater access to care than you or I do.
It strikes me that an inmate in here, with all the people you have, the facilities you have, we'll see a medical technician or get medical help a lot faster than if I went down to my local hospital to the emergency room.
You or I might call our physician and say that we need an appointment, and he might tell us, okay, in 3 weeks I can see you. These guys are going to be here within 48 hours.
Tim Rice of Oak Cliff must work 8 hours a day free in the prison garment factory or lose time off his sentence for good behavior. 350 inmates save taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars by sewing their uniforms and towels. The factory is adding a second shift. Most inmates say they deserve pay and more privileges for supporting the system.
Most people will look at this and say, hey, it's clean, it's well lit, you get 3 squares a day. This is not tough. That you ought to be busting rocks.
It's the loss of freedom is what it is. It's the right of the yellow line. That's what's done. If you want to go to the store and get a pack of gum, you can do that. I can't have gum. 3 Cokes, 1 Cajun hot sauce, 24 beef soups.
But in fact, inmates can buy more than 200 products with their own money. They spend $95,000 a month at the prison equivalent of a convenience store.
1 ice cream pint. What flavor of that Bluebell ice cream pint? We have a list up there. Dutch chocolate.
An inmate can spend up to $60 a week deposited in his trust fund account by family or friends. Yet many crime victims can't collect restitution.
It's not really that restrictive. The only bad thing about being in prison is, like I said, being behind the brick walls and being behind this fence.
The apparent perks of prison life, TVs and exercise equipment, help control most of the 2,900 killers, robbers, drug dealers, rapists, and child molesters held here. But a few inmates, such as the gospel disciples, have started to accept responsibility for themselves. They say that's the first step toward rehabilitation.
I'm so glad today that you love me.
That's the one ray of hope we saw. Most inmates believe they have a right to spacious prisons and programs. Fort Worth Congressman Pete Guerin says medical standards are so excessive that a heart attack victim has a better chance in prison than in the lobby of a hospital. Chip?
Robert, the viewers must be saying, what if we just turn off the TV sets, close down that commissary, cut down on this recreation that you just showed us?
Well, these are privileges the system uses to get inmates to cooperate and do the work that helps keep the prisons running. Take it away and inmates threaten to riot, refuse to work, or file lawsuits. But there may be relief in the new crime bill. An amendment by Congressman Guerin now restricts a federal district judge from interfering in the prison system. It's yet to be tested.
Okay, keep us updated. Thank you, Robert. Our series of reports on confinement in our state's new prisons, entitled Hard Crime, Soft Time, today triggered calls for tougher conditions. Fort Worth Congressman Pete Guerin says it's time to rein in the freedom and comforts that federal judges have given to inmates. Channel 8's Robert Riggs tonight has this follow-up report.
3 Cokes, 1 Cajun hot sauce, 24 beef soups, 1 large frito.
It looks like the corner convenience store, but it's inside a maximum security prison. Prison comforts and services mandated by federal courts have drawn a sharp call to crack down on district judges who rule in favor of prisoners' rights. Fort Worth Congressman Pete Guerin plans legislation that would take away lower courts' authority in prison overcrowding lawsuits.
I don't think there's any issue that strikes a stronger nerve with the American people than this kind of incredible excess and indulgence of people that are supposed to be there to be punished. for so many of those prisoners, what they get on the inside is so much better than their life on the outside.
Court-imposed standards for such things as health care cost taxpayers millions of additional dollars to operate and build prisons. Federal court rulings require living conditions for inmates more spacious than those for school children or the military. The cost of running Texas prisons grows rapidly towards $3 billion a year.
By this time next year, capacity will reach 145,000 beds, triple the prison system size just 3 years ago. Still, long-term projections show that Texas needs another 59,000 beds by the year 2000 to hold the new inmates that will be coming in under tougher sentences.
Texas settled the Ruiz overcrowding lawsuit 2 years ago, but its legacy continues to shape the expensive design of Texas prisons. A recent amendment to the congressional crime bill by Guerin greatly restricts federal intervention.
What it really does is give the state a weapon to fight back against these judges.
But it's a weapon Texas has yet to use. State political leaders appear reluctant to challenge rulings that make prisons softer than an outraged public demands. Robert Riggs, Channel 8 News, at the McConnell Prison, Beeville.
Congressman Guerin says if the individual states could run prisons at 165% of capacity, the way federal prisons do, it would make 300,000 additional cells available nationwide.